evening and welcome to the first in a series of forums with candidates for office of this November 4th election that is being brought to you by Cayuga Community College and The Citizen. I'm your moderator, Guy Cosentino. On November 4th, voters in the 10th Legislative District, which is in the southeast quadrant of the city of Auburn, will go to the polls to vote for the sole county legislative race up this year. Earlier this year, Legislator Stephanie DeVito resigned. Amy Sargent, who's in the studio with us today, was named to replace her until this special election is over. We have both Legislator Sargent, who is on the Democratic and Working Families line, in the studio, as well as Michael Pettigrass, who is on the Republican and Conservative lines, as well as the People's Vote Party line, which is an independent line, to talk to the voters in the 10th District about what they're running and why they're running. With the Cayuga County Legislature narrowly split between Democrats and Republicans and a conservative and a non-aligned member at a minimum, this special election could change the way Cayuga County Legislature works come January. Representing the press today in the studio is Robert Harding, the political reporter for The Citizen, who's been kind enough to be in the studio for the last couple of years to ask the candidates questions. Prior to taping of this show, the candidates drew lots to see what order they would be in and will give their 2-minute openings in that order and then be reversed for closing statements. Our candidates who are sitting in the positions of how they drew are Amy Sargent, who is currently the legislator for that district, who is on the Democratic and Working Families Party line, and Michael Pettigrass, who's on the Republican, Conservative, and People's Voter Party. Thank you both for joining us today in the studio and being willing to take questions from Mr. Harding. We're going to start with your 2 minutes openings. We have Jacob, who is a student here, who's going to time you. He's going to give you a sign when you're at a minute and a half, and then I will cut you off when he puts up the red sign. So, starting off, we'll go with Ms. Sargent, who is on the Democratic and Working Families Party line. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to Cayuga Community College, Guy Cosentino, all the students, Robert Harding, and Mike Pettigrass for the opportunity to participate in this candidate forum. My name is Amy Sargent. I've lived in the city of Auburn for a little over 20 years. My husband Drew and I are raising our 2 children, Liam and Tara, on the southeast side of the city, which is District 10. I've lived most of my life in Cayuga County, growing up in the village of Cayuga and graduating from Union Springs High School. I have a bachelor's degree in human services from SUNY Empire and a master's degree in public administration from SU's Maxwell School. I've always had a passion for public service. My professional experience includes 20 plus years in nonprofit and healthcare leadership, volunteer work, and I have served on many local boards, including Ignite Young Professionals, Westminster Nursery School, Auburn City Planning Board, and I also served as chair of the Cayuga Community Health Network. Like many of you, I am deeply concerned with the current challenges and what may be facing our community. When I learned of the opportunity to seek the vacant seat for District 10, I did a lot of research and took time to consider if and what I could offer to you as your representative. I believe my experience and aligned values can help move our community forward. We need experienced administrators that can carefully evaluate the complex budget systems. As a director of operations for a large regional healthcare organization, I have vast experience navigating and balancing multi-million-dollar budgets with diverse funding and cost centers. My more than 2 decades working in this community has allowed me to be fortunate enough to build a strong network within law enforcement, healthcare, and community-based services. If I do not know something, odds are I know someone who does that will collaborate with me. This county has much at stake right now, and I have already hit the ground running and hope to be able to continue to serve the people of District 10 and the city of Auburn. Thank you, and I humbly ask for your vote to be your legislator for District 10.
Thank you, Legislator. And Mr. Pettigrass, I introduced your third line wrong. It's People's Voice. If I could read my own handwriting, that would be helpful. So we'll hear from Michael Pettigrass, who's on the Republican, Conservative, and People's Voice lines. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. So I am Mike Pettigrass, and I'm running for county legislator because I want to help turn our county in a direction of prosperity, and I want to leave it as a better place for our future generations to live in. I'm a lifelong resident of Auburn, and I've lived in my home in District 10 for the past 30 years. Cayuga County and the city of Auburn has always been a great place to live and raise a family, and we should strive to maintain and improve upon this. I'm married, I have 6 children and 4 grandchildren, and I want Auburn and Cayuga County to be able to offer our future generations enough opportunity for them to remain here and be able to prosper. Too many young adults continue to leave our community as their opportunities dwindle. In 1970, Auburn's population was about 35,000 people. By the year 2000, we were down to 28,500, and recent numbers put Auburn at about 26,000 residents. And people just aren't leaving the city, they're leaving the county altogether, as evidenced by the shrinking population of the county as well. We need to reverse this trend by providing the opportunities needed to keep our younger generations here. I've been employed at Auburn Correctional Facility for 32 years, where I supervise a large guidance and counseling unit. Many aspects of my career have helped prepare me to be an effective county legislator. I have successfully navigated a very large bureaucracy of state government and led a team of productive guidance counselors for many years. I've developed good communication skills and teamwork through countless issues. With 800 employees at my workplace, the state has chosen me to represent them on several positive public relations issues, from the History Channel documentary to Images of America book we did. The state government continued to choose me for projects because I demonstrated that I could get things done and represent them well. I believe it is very important that anyone elected as a county legislator have the ability to build strong working relationships with everyone on the legislature. I've already forged good relationships with many of the current members of the legislature. Our community must come before party politics, and I will bring a strong spirit of collaboration to the county legislature. There are many serious issues facing our community, some new and some that have been plaguing our community for years. Working together, much more will be accomplished. Today, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. We'll now have, over the next roughly 45 minutes, Mr. Harding asking you a series of questions. He can ask them of either of you, both of you, one at a time. We'll figure that out. You'll have 2 minutes to answer his questions. If it's for both of you, we'll start with you, go down the line, and then reverse order. Mr. Harding, welcome back.
Thanks, Guy.
Thanks for doing this.
It's good to be here. And thanks to both of you for participating. I wanted to start with the budget, because certainly this is arguably the most pressing issue facing Cayuga County at the moment, because the county is in the midst of a real budget crunch, the result of poor practices in the past and worsened by unforeseen circumstances such as the closure of the office building last year. This budget deficit could be as bad as $9.5 million. Solving these problems won't be easy. Between federal and state mandates, there are certain services the county must provide. What must the county do to get its budget under control?
And this is for both candidates?
Please. Yeah.
We'll start with you, legislator, then Mr. Pettigrass.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. I think that there's many layers, as you said, to it. Unfortunately, there's going to have to probably be some cuts and more efficiency in spending, which we've been looking at right along. The exceeding the tax gap keeps coming up, and I know that's not popular. I also pay taxes in the community. But to not raise it at this point would be irresponsible. The problem that we're in has been many years in the making. We were looking at the fund balance history, and in 2023 we had to take out $3 million. In 2024, $7 million, and last year $5.6 million. We continue to increase spending without increasing revenue, and so that's what's compiled the problem as it is now. So without taking a look at how to make things more efficient, so some cuts where we can, as you mentioned, we have a lot of mandatory services, and then probably end up exceeding the tax gap, unfortunately, so that we can continue to balance the budget.
Thank you, Ms. Sargent. Mr. Pettigrass, on this issue of the county budget, you have 2 minutes.
Yes, so as Mr. Harding stated, making up for past decisions, Lynn Marinelli recently stated that the county is making up for poor budget decisions in the past. In budget years 21, 22, and 23, the county had minimal or no property tax increases, even though inflation was spiking. In these years, the legislature dipped into its fund balance, as was just stated, in order to balance the budget. The fund balance usage has continued to increase over the last 3 years. Using millions more from the fund balance won't likely be an option for this upcoming budget. The county's already at the low end of its fund balance policy, meaning it can't really go below a certain threshold to maintain a minimum balance needed. Going back to what Mr. Harding said about a potential $9.5 million budget deficit, that's taken into account an approximately 3% sales tax revenue increase as an estimate. Staying within the 2.87% property tax cap, which is pretty much what the state's probably looking for us to be close at, and then of course not using any of the fund balance, which if we're near the bottom of it, then that becomes a problem. So there's a lot of budget pressures. As you stated, the federal and state mandates, there's a $1.2 million increase in health insurance expenditures in this upcoming year. And the cost of retiree health insurance is going to exceed that for the current employees. So there's a lot of tough decisions. The finance director, Ms. Blowers, seems to really have a good handle on it, and Lynn Marinelli. We've got good people working in that department and department for the county, and I'm sure they're going to come up with ways to eliminate or reduce that budget deficit. There's going to be some tough decisions, though, and you know, one of the things you should always maybe look at is losing a few positions through attrition over time. It's not something that happens immediately, but if you're looking to save some money.
Mr. Harding.
I wanted to keep it on the budget topic because the county has had a temporary, at least they call it temporary for now, a hiring freeze that's been in place for the last several months. Because of the situation that the county finds itself in right now, should this be a longer-term pause until the county is in a better fiscal shape?
And this is for both?
For both, yeah.
Mr. Pettigrass, you're up first on the idea of extending the hiring freeze.
So extending the hiring freeze, it makes sense on the surface, but certainly things continue to pop up where you have to replace people that are in key positions. They have to be replaced. One, for instance, is the Sheriff's Department and some of the road patrol. I don't think any of us would feel comfortable knowing if we lost some road patrol that we wouldn't be replacing it. And there's certain positions within social services and health and human services. There's key positions that you can't really just leave unfilled. But going back to what I said a minute or two ago, you know, once in a while you do see an opportunity. At a budget special ledge meeting just a couple days ago, one of the department heads had made mention of the fact that they had lost somebody recently from their department. In order to save money, they just weren't going to fill it. So that makes sense to me.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. Ms. Sargent, on this issue of extending the hiring freeze.
Yeah, I think that's going to have to be addressed on a continuous basis where we are. It makes sense right now. We've had several special ledge meetings where the department heads have come in, and they know their departments, they know their budget very well, and they're being very forthcoming with what they think they absolutely need to function and what they don't. And so those conversations have been very helpful in trying to figure out if someone retires or leaves, whether it absolutely has to be filled or not. So having a kind of blanket freeze is just not practical. It's more, you could say that, but there's always exceptions and things that you have to look at. So we're taking it case by case basis. And I think when the budget is complete, we'll know if certain positions can be refilled, backfilled. I do know also that the chair has been working on some efficiencies between the county and the city that the legislature supports. So any place that we can combine efforts and funding certainly might also prove some places where we can operate leaner, which will save money. So it's just going to have to be a continuous evaluation.
Okay. Mr. Harding.
Great. Last question on the budget for now at least, because Legislator Sargent, you mentioned the need to increase revenue, and when you look at the history of the budget, certainly the use of the fund balances to make up for really not increasing that revenue because costs do increase over time, and we're certainly seeing that with the health insurance expenditures that Mr. Pettigrass mentioned a little bit ago. So I guess for both of you, what would you say, where can the county increase those revenues so that we're finding that balance that as costs go up, you know, the revenues are keeping pace with what needs to be met?
Legislator Sargent, you're up first for 2 minutes.
Yeah, so that's something we're having a lot of conversation about right now, certainly trying to find where we can. Obviously, not wanting to have to increase property taxes astronomically because it hasn't been increased for so long. That would certainly be a shock to the community and all of us taxpayers. So we've been looking at a lot of different things. You know, there was a meeting a month ago about you know, we were trying to evaluate the tax on the short-term rentals and tourism, and everything has kind of a cause and effect. So we may be bringing in money, but it may cause, the cost may be on the back end somewhere else. And so tourism certainly brings in a lot of economic development into our community, so weighing that. There are some things that do have very even cost centers. So we recently just looked at the Office of, or our Cayuga County Mental Health, for example. They're maximizing their billing structure to the most efficient way possible so that they don't take a lot of county funds. So where the revenue typically is in taxation, I think trying to make our county departments whole in many ways possible to kind of be self-sustaining so that we don't have to pour the county share into them is how we'll kind of maximize and get the most out of our dollars.
Thank you. Mr. Pettigrass, on this issue of increasing revenues.
So we go back for just a second and we talk about the revenues that are projected into the budget and the 3% sales tax revenue increase, which they kind of look at maybe at the lower end and hopefully anticipate more money actually coming out of that. There's some new money coming in to the county. There should be new money coming into the county based upon, I believe, marijuana sales and the new the shops that are starting to generate money at both the city and county level. And depending on where those dispensaries are, if they're located in the city's going to get a bigger cut, but the county's certainly going to get a cut. And one way or another, whether you like that or not, that's going to generate money, and it's a new revenue source. Nobody really wants to see any exceeding the property tax cap. Of course, would bring in more money, but nobody really wants to do that. So it's going to be some hard decisions that have to be hashed out between all the legislators, 11 of them, hopefully working together to figure this out.
All right. Thank you. You all set? All right. Mr. Harding.
I wanted to shift to the county office building because there was recently a presentation on that at a meeting, I think back in September, just regarding some of the options that are available or possible for the future of the office building. Those include renovating the existing structure or even building an entirely new building. Wondered to get your opinions on what you think should be the best option for the future of the county office building.
Mr. Pettigrass, you're up for 2 minutes.
So this is probably one of the biggest issues facing the county right now. Just recently, probably a couple weeks ago, Campus Construction Management, which was hired by the county, provided some figures that were anticipated for months. They were paid $30,000 to come up with this assessment, and they broke it down into a couple different categories. One is if you just simply remediate the existing building, which is about $9.6 million, and then remodeling and rebuilding the existing building, which is between $51 and $52 million. So you add those together for the cost of that project, you're looking at about $61 million. Or one of the other scenarios that was suggested is still remediating the building because we're pretty much forced to do that. But then if you walk away from the building, as potentially suggested, and build a new facility altogether, their proposal was to build a 70,000 square foot, 3-story building at $69 million. Of course, you still have to, on top of that, remediate the existing building for $9.6 million. And if you don't sell it, if you're looking to turn it into green space, you're looking at another $7.2 million. So these costs are astronomical for the county, and we really need to make sure we make the correct decision on this. But I would be leaning towards obviously saving money, and that would be to remediate and rebuild the existing building. I think you could save between $17 and $25 million based upon the presentation that was provided by the construction management company. The plans for $69 million simply just to put up a new structure didn't even include site plan development, didn't include acquiring the land, didn't include parking or any other green space around it. So I would, my decision would be to move towards just remediating, rebuilding, and saving a lot of money.
Thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. Legislator, you have 2 minutes on this issue of the county office building.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no way around it. This is going to be a very expensive issue to move forward on. We've been talking a lot about, as Mr. Pettigrass said, the estimates and the assessment that we got from recently a couple weeks ago with all of our options. this is another example of a problem that probably could have been addressed a long time ago, but just continued to compile, and so this is where we are. The most cheap, I guess most affordable option would be the remediate. But I know when I joined the legislature, the first thing I did was ask about this. What do we not understand? It just a year seems like a really long time. I have friends that work in that building that haven't gotten their stuff. What is it? But when you really drill into the complexity of the issue, once you start down a path of doing one thing, you have to make another decision and another decision. And if we take money and remediate, what are we doing after that? And so I think finally we're at a point now where we've seen all of the variables and weighing all of the options, and you're going to see the county make a decision fairly soon on moving forward. We just spoke this week as well about the first step is getting the items out for the staff that work there that just kind of was probably a very strange thing to just walk away and leave your personal belongings. So figuring out what they can get back, what they can't, and then we're going to continue to evaluate different options. But at this point, with the data that we have, the rebuild does look like the most affordable to the taxpayer.
Mr. Pettigrass, you'll have 1 minute.
Yeah, one of the things that I found interesting was that the campus construction management company, their proposal didn't include the option of rebuilding, putting up a new structure on the existing site. They talk about remediation, and they talk about demolition, and then they talk about building on an alternate site. They didn't propose figures for rebuilding on the existing site a 6-story building, which we currently have at about 70,000 feet. I'm not sure why they didn't provide that. Currently, a 6-story building works. It's worked there for 50 years. Their proposal was a 3-story building, which would take up twice the footprint, and obviously can't go in the current location, and then it pushes the county into having to acquire more land, do site plans, and deal with all the parking. You already have an existing building, and I'm not sure why they didn't provide us with those figures. I would have been interested to hear what the figures would have been to if you demolish this building. Are you putting up another 6-story building?
Thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. You have 1 minute as well.
Yes, so this isn't my area of expertise, but the way that I understood it when they explained it to us, when you have 6 floors versus 3, there's different regulations and things that you had to add around the elevators and different types of requirements to build. So rebuilding or doing 6 stories would be more than the other 2 options that they presented to us. In some of the departments that are in there may not go back to that location. Some may end up being moved around depending on what's working for them and what has to be there. So that's, I think, the idea around the 3-story proposal.
Mr. Pettigrass, you have 1 minute.
It's just one of the other issues on this is, the county is currently spending, $340,000, I think, $348,000 a year to rent 63 Genesee Street. We're paying rent at CCC. We've got people, our offices at 2 State Street, the Ward O'Hara Museum is being used, the Sheriff's Department's being used, the Auburn Fire Department's being used, where we used to have everything pretty much consolidated in one location, making it more convenient for county operations and for the general public. Now you've got people in offices spread all over the place, and it just seems to be an issue that we need to get to sooner rather than later.
Okay. All right, Mr. Harding.
A couple years ago, Mr. Pettigrass, I asked you a similar question about this very topic, and it's about the county management structure at the moment. Earlier this year, Legislature Chairman Jonathan Anna proposed the creation of a charter commission to explore establishing a county executive, an elected official who would oversee the county's operations. What's your stance on whether the county should establish this position?
And is this for
Both.
Okay, so Mr. Pettigrass started with the county office building, so Legislator Sargent will start with the issue of the county management structure. You have 2 minutes.
Yes, that's a great question. I've only been in government for 5 months, but I have come to realize that there's a lot of change and issues that go beyond, you're looking at things as a whole in the strategic plan and vision of the county. And so not having a county manager, county administrator, someone who is a good continuity of being able to see things through over a consistent period of time really disrupts progress. People might be working towards something and then have to kind of go back. So having someone just focused on the county as an administrator would be a huge benefit, and then the legislature could work in partnership with them. So I agree. I think that we need to bring back that. I think that it should be someone who's appointed versus elected, to keep someone in for a certain amount of time and kind of remove the party portion out of it.
Mr. Pettigrass, this issue of county management?
So my position hasn't changed since we last discussed it, and I would support creating a position of the county executive. I believe that that would require a referendum on a vote, a ballot, and that would allow the people of Cayuga County to decide through vote who they want running the day-to-day operations of the county. And it's obviously very important to have somebody spearheading the day-to-day operations of the county. We've had county managers, the recent past, the last few years, there was a couple different people that sat in as a county manager, and unfortunately they didn't last long in those positions, and it didn't help with the continuity of the flow of the county government. But as Ms. Sargent stated, taking out the politics, if you have one party in charge of the county ledge, if they want to try to appoint a county manager, it makes more sense to have someone elected in that high position. And if the people decide that they don't like that performance, then 2 years, 4 years later, they can be voted out. And I support the county executive position.
Mr. Harding.
Okay. I'm going to shift to economic development. In 2024, the county legislature ended its support for the Cayuga Economic Development Agency, which led to that organization's dissolution. There has been a discussion about reestablishing a one-stop shop for economic development, but nothing has emerged yet to fill the void left by CEDA. What role should the legislature play in ensuring that Cayuga County's economic development agencies are united?
Okay, Mr. Pettigrass, you're up first.
So there was a lot of back and forth going about CEDA, and ultimately it was taken apart. The economic development is very important, as everybody would agree. And you know, getting people to work together, it just seems to be obviously important, but sometimes lacking. And one of the things that was recently discussed was the merger of the Industrial Development Agency with the city and the county, and the city mayor recommending or suggesting that the city and the county share office space, and he offered space at City Hall, and ultimately the county decided not to share space, and not, you know, and some might perceive it as not sharing collaborative ideas. And it's not an easy decision. When you ask some of the people involved at the county IDA, they make statements in regards to CAPUSA, the Cayuga County Public Utilities Service Agency, wasn't asked to also participate in sharing office space, and the county IDA wanted to have CAPUSA in their same shared spot along with a couple other agencies. And that's understandable, and then the county goes in a different direction and decides to rent space in the car building and spend, I think it was around $20,000 a year for rental space. But I guess my point is we need collaboration on these issues, and we really need to be able to work together if we're going to move forward and having our county prosper.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. Ms. Sargent, on this issue of economic development and a one-stop.
I think CEDA was a wonderful organization due to the collaboration, but also providing skills and tools to local business owners and people that were looking to build their experience as they kind of work towards running a business within our community. I do know, though, that because of these other very pressing issues, being able to focus on that and where to fund it is probably not the highest priority. However, However, focusing on economic development, your question about how the legislature can support economic development, I think is critical in that we're setting up a community where local businesses can thrive and other businesses want to come in and participate and spend money within our community. So I think some version of it is definitely worth reconsidering to pull resources together and to give resources to people that would like to pursue local businesses. So I would definitely support revisiting that.
Okay. Before I turn it back over to Mr. Harding, just want to let our viewers know we're halfway through the forum for the 10th Legislative District in the City of Auburn. This is the only legislative race up this year in the County of Cayuga. It is to fill a seat that was vacated earlier in the year by Stephanie DeVito, who resigned. She was replaced by Amy Sargent, who is here in the studio with us, and she and Mr. Pettigrass are both vying for the remainder of that 2-year term. Ms. Sargent is on the Democratic and Working Families Party line. Mr. Pettigrass is on the Republican, Conservative, and People's Voice party line, and they're being asked questions by Robert Harding of The Citizen. Mr. Harding.
All right. Wanted to continue on economic development. Cayuga County was awarded a $1 million state grant to support a major housing project on the west end of the city, so not in your district, but in the neighboring district. Supporters of this project say it's critical to not only providing housing for workers at existing businesses, but also to help the city and county capitalize on the Micron project. I'm using this as an example to ask you both, what more should the county do to help address these housing needs, not only for the people that are here, but also potential workers that are coming in?
So before we do that, can we just clarify, that is the property near Dunning Ave and Bluefield Manor, correct?
That's right.
Okay, just so people know what our directions are. So on that before, Mr. Pettigrass went, so Ms. Sargent, you're up on this issue of the housing on the west end or collaboration overall.
Yes, there's multiple housing projects either in the works or being discussed in our community. I think having housing for various socioeconomic backgrounds is really important so that we can support low income, as well as more probably middle class. The Micron folks that you mentioned is very important so that people can live within our community. I do think there's a saturation at some point, so we want to be mindful of how much that's coming in. And it's not just building housing. I know that there are a lot of resources in our community that support landlords. So I've worked in my role in human services, I've worked for years finding sustainable housing for people, and finding landlords is getting harder and harder because it's harder and harder to be a landlord, to afford the property. The tenants' rights are great, but also sometimes run into a barrier for people to maintain their properties. So I think really focusing on ways to make sure that it's affordable and easy for people to buy properties and rent them, and then to be fair to their tenants would also be an important part that keeps the money locally, as opposed to giving to large companies that might come in and do a project.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pettigrass, you have 2 minutes.
So housing is an issue at many levels. There's the homeless housing issue, there's the low-income housing issue, and there's the housing issues for people, as you stated, that are potential Micron employees looking to move into our county, potentially maybe the northern end of our county. The homeless issue seems to be an ongoing problem regarding the shelter. I think everybody would agree that we need a homeless shelter. The county is spending an inordinate amount of money, over $5 million this current budget year. I think they budgeted for $5.1 million. They're going to probably spend around $5.8 million. Most of that money is going for hotels to house the homeless. And of course, we need to have space for homeless people. The shelter, if we were to build one, hopefully would alleviate the cost of the county and the amount of money we're spending to put people in hotel rooms. I think right now the county has over 90 individuals and maybe 20 families that are currently being housed as homeless at the cost of the county. And we need to be would provide housing for people. There's just mandates for certain things, but we also do need to realize that, hey, if you build 500-bed homeless shelter, eventually you're going to have 500 people homeless living in a spot. So you have to find a happy medium. We do need to spend efforts to provide it. Thank you.
Thank you. You have 1 minute, if you wish.
I just wanted to touch on the homeless shelter
Sure.
portion. I think you're referring to the rescue mission project up on Grand Ave. I'm well aware, as a member of the planning board, the public to be heard, the people there were very concerned that live in that neighborhood. And I certainly understand the concern, but I don't live very far from there myself, and I don't believe that the people that will be receiving emergency housing will be dangerous. There's about, I want to say 85, I could be a little off. It's certainly not 500 beds, but it's several. And as Mr. Pettigrass said, it's going to take folks out of the hotels, which is incredibly expensive to the taxpayer, whereas a place like the Rescue Mission might receive grant funding from the state or the federal government. So it's not coming out of our county budget. So it's a much more efficient way. It's also for the folks that are living there are going to receive programming as opposed to being in a hotel, which could be used by tourists coming into our community.
Just
Mr. Pettigrass?
Yeah, thank you. Just one quick point. I didn't mean to suggest that we should be building 500 units of homeless. I'm just saying, if we built it, no, it's the old saying, if you build it, they will come. So we need to determine what the needs are for our community, for our county, and accommodate that certain amount. And we have to find that right amount. And as we said, was there 80 or 90 current homeless people, and then 15 or 20 families currently. And it obviously fluctuates, probably fluctuates almost daily. And you know, we've got a lot of great programs going on to the county for the homeless, the Cayuga County Action Program, CAP, and some of the other. Westminster Church, which does the Safe and Warm program. There's just some good stuff going on, but we need to be able to provide for the homeless.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
All right. Wanted to talk a little bit about Micron. The draft environmental impact statement revealed that there could be an addition of 2,562 households in Cayuga County by 2041. Beyond the housing discussion we just had, what else must Cayuga County do to prepare for this potential population boom?
And I think, Mr. Pettigrass, you're up first on this one.
So one of the first things that comes to mind is continuing to support the upgrade of broadband in our county, specifically in the underserved areas in the northern parts of the county, and where the Micron potential households would be gravitating towards. If you look geographically at where Micron would be, I believe in the Clay area of Syracuse, and how it compares as a shorter drive. Sure, we'd love them to be living in Auburn, but it's a shorter drive to the northern part of the county. So if you're going to be earning a six-figure job working at Micron and you're looking to live within 20, 30 minutes, and maybe you look at Cayuga County, northern Cayuga County, there's issues up there with broadband. And right now I believe the county has entered into a process where they've fronted some money. I don't know if that's the right way to put it. Eventually the federal government is going to give the money to the state government. The state government gives it to the local counties in regards to some of these upgrades in broadband. And I think we've got maybe $7 or $8 million pointed towards that project. And that's an important project. I mean, if you're going to be moving into Cayuga County, I think you're going to want to be able to get onto high-speed internet. We want to make sure that we have enough public services, making sure that we have, we discussed earlier, Sheriff's Road Patrol. And if you're living in northern Cayuga County, there isn't local, but you want the Sheriff's Patrol out there. You want water to be available. You need the infrastructure to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Legislator, you have 2 minutes on this issue of how to prepare for Micron.
Yeah, I think this is going to be something we're going to be talking about for, as you said, several years as it grows, and have to reevaluate what this does in terms of our county infrastructure, our roads, our services, things that people rely on. One of the first things I was brought up to speed on was the broadband project and partnering with Cortland County and being able to maximize the funding opportunities there with moving that forward, and I fully support that. I think that will help people move into more rural areas of the county. We will have to continue to make sure that we are operating the infrastructure needed as it grows, but it sounds like it might be a slow build in terms of being able to do that. There's a Micron steering committee comprised of experts in many areas around our county's infrastructure that are looking at this closely and will continue to look at it. So I think we will need to continue to defer to them of what we need to do and think forward, getting ahead of what might be needed.
Okay, Mr. Pettigrass, you have 1 minute.
Real quickly, as Ms. Sargent mentioned, the steering committee that I believe Dave Gould created when he was chairman, he had it broken down into, I think, like 4 different groups: major sites, energy, housing, and workforce development. And in sitting in the last several months of legislative meetings, maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard really any updates on that. I'm sure they're probably still working behind the scenes on these different points. But it would be nice just to have updates periodically in one manner or another, just to get it out to the general public.
Thank you. Mr. Harding.
All right. Just lastly on Micron, both of you are lifelong Cayuga County residents, so I wondered for the future Micron employees out there that are looking to relocate to Central New York, what's your pitch to them as to why they should settle in, whether it be District 10 or anywhere in Cayuga County?
Ms. Sargent, I think you're up first.
Well, my preference is District 10, but yes, anywhere in Cayuga County. I'm very proud to live in Cayuga County. I think the diversity that you can go on a hike, you can go to a winery, you can go to a farm, or you can enjoy the history and be in the city of Auburn. So I think this is a wonderful place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. I have, as I said, 2 kids that we're raising here in the city of Auburn. And it's a perfect mix of being large enough to have things to do here and resources, but not so big that it's overwhelming. We just came in today talking about our kids. You know, everybody knows everybody, and I love that about our community. I also think that the resources we have with the dairy farms and the agriculture here, you get a little bit of everything. And so I would highly recommend it to anybody considering moving to Cayuga County.
Thank you, Legislator. Mr. Pettigrass, what's your elevator pitch?
Well, I would concur with some of the stuff that was stated, and Cayuga County has a lot to offer. There's a lot going on here that should be enticing to people to want to move into this area. You know, Micron, and you think of maybe instead of living in a bigger city, but living in a more rural area where you can enjoy. We've got a lot going on just in the city with arts and entertainment. You've got the wineries, you've got the beautiful lakes. I don't see how you can underestimate or understate the beauty and the hub of tourism centered around the lakes themselves, and that should be a draw if you could live closer to any one of the lakes, you know, whether it's Owasco Lake, Cayuga Lake, you know, getting people into Cayuga County, nearby Skinny Atlas Lake, there's wonderful areas, and most of the, I would think that there's a decent salary coming out of the folks working at Micron. They'd probably be able to afford some of those nicer areas and enjoy some of the hop on a wine trail, you know, hop on a boat and take a trip down to Owasco Lake. There's a lot to offer.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Harding.
A state law signed by Governor Hochul allows counties to maintain short-term rental registries, which would document how many short-term rentals, such as Airbnb and Vrbo, operate in the area. Cayuga and other counties have a choice to make. They can either opt in to create a registry or opt out. What do you think the county should do?
Mr. Pettigrass, this issue of short-term rentals.
So I wasn't a big fan of, first of all, of the taxes being placed on short-term rentals. It just seems like you had another tax. The registry, I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of the registry is, other than making people aware of where these are. You know, it's just a trend of the times. Things have changed. You know, 20 years from now, we'll probably be talking about something else. But short-term rentals, Vrbos, and the like are they're here, they're probably here to stay. Make people aware of them. It's good to provide money into the pockets of the people that are struggling otherwise, that may own some a property or two that looks to have some rental income. The tax, though, I'm not a fan of the tax. I would have preferred that we don't increase taxes, and that would be one that I would have probably, if I had a choice, would not have voted for.
Thank you. Legislator, on this issue of the short-term rental registry.
Yes, I do support being on the registry. We looked at this thoroughly. My understanding is some people are doing it now and some aren't. So being on the registry just kind of makes things formalized and in compliance and everything on the books. We're at a point with our county budget right now that we need to add revenue wherever we can. And this seems like a good opportunity to do that. And again, just the fact that some are doing it and some aren't, it makes sense to bring everybody up to the same level and be able to monitor the use of the short-term rentals in our community.
Okay. Mr. Harding.
The legislatures discussed this. They're responsible for appointing various members of boards and committees in the county, and there's been this discussion about the need for fresh perspectives on many of these boards. Some of these members have been on the boards for quite a long time, several years. So how should the legislature balance the need for experienced members with the need for new perspectives, especially those that may not be currently represented?
Sargent, you're up first. You have 2 minutes on this issue of board appointments.
In my current work, our nonprofit board of directors is required to be a representative of the patient population. So if half are female and half are male that come into our practice, we try to match that. So I think that that's a good way to make sure that these boards are looking at things from diverse angles. You want it to match whatever the board is looking at in particular, and then also a good mixture of experience versus fresh ideas. And so certainly the people with experience can bring historical knowledge, the background, the why you do things the way that you do them, which is also very important. And then people coming in with new ideas may come from other regions, may have other experiences that they don't, and a good mix is always the best way to go.
Mr. Pettigrass, this issue of board appointments.
So it's difficult to get people to participate in and commit themselves into boards when, if it's done right, you need to spend a lot of time doing it, and typically you're not being paid to do it. So when you have people that are willing to stay on boards that have been there for years and they have the experience, it's a tough thing to get rid of them, but you still do need to provide a mix, and you do need to have a variety of points of view. Finding people that are successful in business and putting them on boards would be ideal to a certain extent. However, you try to get somebody from Nucor, or try to get somebody from Courier, or from the Cayuga Milk Ingredients, so some of the businesses that we see in the community that have done well, and look at their leadership and how they've got some people there that obviously know what they're doing and they're thinking properly. Try to get them on some boards. It's a tough sell. If you can get them on, then that's great. But you certainly don't want to kick somebody off if you don't have a replacement for them that's going to at least bring the same level that you already have.
Okay. Mr. Harding.
Given that District 10 is in the city of Auburn, I wanted to ask you both about the city-county relationship, because I think over the years, I've lived here for 16 years, it certainly predates my time, but that relationship can be best described as it's complicated. They've certainly worked well in some areas, but not so well in others. So being that you'd represent a city district, building that relationship and ensuring that that relationship can be strong, I guess what role would you play in facilitating that?
Mr. Pettigrass, you're up first. 2 minutes on this.
Well, I think I can talk and collaborate with anybody. I've spent the last 32 years talking to people and as part of my trade. And there's people at City Hall that certainly should be involved in conversations with people at the county government, at the county ledge. Just recently, and we discussed it a few minutes ago with our mayor, Jimmy Giannantino, reaching out in regards to collaborating on the IDAs. And maybe perhaps more of that should be looked at. We do share a lot of common space. I mean, obviously, District 10 is flat, square in the middle of the county, and District 10, which is the southeast portion, a quadrant of the city. Every single day we see city services, and so collaboration can only help us, can only save money, and I believe that personally I can speak to anybody, and I can get along and make headway on issues that I think are important to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. Legislator, you have 2 minutes on this issue of city-county relations.
Yeah, I agree. It's very important. The city of Auburn is Cayuga County, but there are very varying focuses and priorities among that. I think for the legislators that are in the city, it's a little bit of an easier, fluid relationship because we're looking at the same things. I do appreciate that the Ginny and Terry, who are running, I had never done door-to-door knocks before, so I went with them and got to hear some of the things that they were saying and thinking, and realized a lot of that does align with some of the county legislator work. So I think continuing to make sure for efficiencies that we're sharing resources. We're sharing some resources with the 911 center, and some other things around infrastructure that's going to save money to the people of the city of Auburn as well as the county. It's going to help strengthen the vision for where we're going because there's more people focused on it, more voices, and more progress. So as a legislator, I will continue to work with them, make sure that we're collaborating, and that we're at the same table on certain issues so that we can partner. I think that's very important.
Okay, Mr. Harding, last question.
All right. I'll just ask about Owasco Lake watershed rules and regs. The city and town of Owasco have been successful, at least so far, in their lawsuit challenging the state's really refusal to update these rules. And I wondered, where you stand on that, supporting obviously the local lawsuit there, but also just this idea of making sure that those watershed rules and regulations are up to date. Obviously, they haven't been updated since the mid-'80s.
Ms. Sargent, you're up first.
Yeah, I think, was it 1984 when the last, yes, that's a little good amount of time. I think that we have to keep putting pressure on the state and not let them off the hook. My understanding is there was some movement in the courts this summer in July where the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Department of Health working with the county to update the rules and regulations. And so we have to keep putting pressure on our state government and make sure that they follow through with that. It's required of them, and our drinking water and the safety of Owasco Lake is really important. Everyone has a role in protecting the watershed, but I think it's important for our county leaders to really continue to be the squeaky wheel until we get that done.
Thank you. Mr. Pettigrass, the protection of Owasco Lake.
Well, we certainly need action by the state to move forward on updating the watershed rules and regulations. They've been dragging their feet for years. I think it was the January of 2024, the city, along with Owasco Watershed Lake Association and the town of Owasco, filed a lawsuit in regards to this issue. Of course, the net drags on forever. We as a county should probably just continue to move forward with what we can do while we're still waiting for this legal process, and the state, who doesn't want to update these regulations, they've made it pretty clear that they're not interested in upgrading them. But so we need to do our part to move forward in protecting our water. We need to reduce the phosphorus and nitrogen that are entering into our water sources. A few years ago, there was a consortium of people. I attended an event at BOCES that went on for a few days, and they created what they refer to as a 9-element plan. There was a lot of good ideas, working ideas, stuff that the county can and has implemented some of these ideas in order to protect our water supply. There was a farm recently in Scipio that was given an award that was recognized for successfully integrating best management practices in their normal farming procedures. I think that's probably maybe a result of education and learning better practices. The city recently was planning on extending its raw water line. The raw water line is at the northern end of Wasco Lake, up by Emerson Park, and it goes out a ways. But the city was going to extend the raw water line because every year we hear about the HABs, the harmful algal blooms, and of course this summer was no exception. In July, you see the newspaper articles. The HABs are back, and they're at the northern end of the lake. That's where our water intake is. And so the city was going to, I believe they were still planning on it at some point, going to extend the raw water line. But then they got waylaid because they had another emergency pop up. They had a water main break up by Highland Golf Park. The golf.
We're going to have to cut you off because we have to go to closing statements.
Oh, okay.
So we give each person 2 minutes on this. So you're up first for your 2 minutes. So let me just remind viewers, this is Michael Pettigrass, who's on the Republican, Conservative, and People's Voice lines, and you have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Thank you. So I'm sure that most people will share my concerns over the county office building crisis. There's a lot of money on the line, so of course we need to make well-informed decisions. However, the building has been closed down for a year and a half now. The county taxpayers are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on rent and on building improvements and upgrades to buildings we do not own. We need to make a decision and move forward. Based upon the report presented a couple weeks ago by Campus Construction Management, the county could save between $17 and $24 million by choosing the option of remediating the current building and then repairing and improving the building. Of the different options proposed, this seems to be the best choice, as it spends a significantly less amount of taxpayer dollars. Our county is fortunate to have Cayuga Community College, and it is in an effort to take advantage of the anticipated needs of the Micron workforce. We should continue to support the forward-thinking leadership of the college in their providing of skills development program focusing on the chip industry. Additionally, CCC's Reconnect program has the ability to provide education and skills leading to employment for students that are well past their traditional age of college students. We should all have a common goal that the community provides enough economic opportunity to make it feasible for our future generations to remain living in our community while being able to provide a desirable quality of life. Being able to find and maintain a happy balance between an affordable cost of living and the quality of life that we seek is obtainable with proper leadership. I would like to be the bridge between the residents of District 10 and the decision and solution-making process in the county legislature. I will be a responsive public servant, and I would expect our county offices to do the same. My decades of experience in guidance and counseling while working for a large state agency has helped position me to be an effective county legislator. By trade, I'm a good listener, and I always want to hear your concerns. When you elect someone to represent you, you entrust in them that they will make informed decisions for the betterment of all. I will do this, and today I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettigrass. We'll now hear from Amy Sargent, who is filling the seat vacated by Stephanie DeVito. She is on the Democratic and Working Families Party line. You have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Again, thank you all for your time, and thank you for your thoughtful questions. It's a privilege to be able to speak with you today. I hope I've responded in a way that demonstrates who I am and my values. In June of this year, I was unanimously appointed by a bipartisan board of legislators to fill the vacant seat. I'm currently serving on 2 committees, Health and Human Services and Judicial and Public Works. Over the last 5 months, I've experienced firsthand the amount of time and work needed to plan for our community's future. I have a deep appreciation for the dedication of service of the other 10 legislators. I am prepared and committed to put in the work to represent you in District 10. Many people from our district have reached out to me via email, phone, or in person to share their thoughts, concerns, and ideas. I've really enjoyed talking to my neighbors in District 10, and it has been a very rewarding experience to bring those voices with me in this work. I have several priorities as your representative. I'm committed to being fiscally responsible while maintaining critical services to the people of Cayuga County. I know how important it is to do so in a way that allows our workforce to thrive, with consideration for fair pay and managing the rising costs of healthcare. While discussing economic development, I'm mindful of the impacts of small businesses. In 2017, my family had to close their store, Downtown Books and Coffee, because it was no longer sustainable. In addition to fiscal concerns, I also deeply value safety and health. I will join my colleagues in holding the state accountable to move forward with keeping our water safe. 2 minutes is not a lot of time to share all of my ideas for the next 2 years, but please reach out to me if you'd like, and I will be out in District 10 meeting with all of you over the next few weeks. Thank you so much, and please vote. I humbly ask for your vote to be able to continue to be your legislator in District 10.
We want to thank you, Legislator. Thank you both for not only being here in the studio to share your views, but putting yourselves out there, going door to door, and doing all that is required of that. And we wish you well in the last 3 weeks of the campaign. I want to thank Robert Harding for his thoughtful questions as usual. You stole my line, but he's always great in coming up with questions and creative ways to ask candidates what they're thinking. And finally, we'd like to thank you for tuning in over the last hour to listen to the candidates for District 10. We hope that you will go out to the polls to vote if you're in that district. We will be back with our normal programming on Tuesday, where we have New York State Assemblyman John Lamondis, who will be in the studio for Inside Government, and that'll be followed by new City Manager Jennifer Haynes as well. And next Thursday, we'll be in with our second forum, co-sponsored with The Citizen, with Mr. Harding asking the questions of incumbents Terry Cuddy and Ginny Kent, who are running on the Democratic Working Families line for City Hall, as well as Craig Diego and Joseph Villano, who are on the Republican and Conservative lines, as well as the People's Voice. I'm Guy Cosentino for Cayuga Community College. We want to thank you for watching. We hope you have a good night, have a great weekend, and we will see you back in the studio with 2 Inside Governments on Tuesday and a forum next Thursday.